The story of this radio legend begins like many California stories with a vision to head west. Three friends from the Garden State of New Jersey decided to plant new roots on the hills above Sausalito using a new technology invented only years earlier in their home state. Frequency modulation, or FM, was formally established in 1941 by the U.S. government, and from Mount Beacon, Davis, Florence, and Crocker launched their new FM radio station in 1948 with the call letter acronym of their names, KDFC, on 102.1 FM. At the time, there were only around 100 TV stations in America and 450 FMs. Bill Crocker was the GM of the original station, Herb Florence the chief engineer, and Ed Davis began as the sales manager. Watching the ship sail through the Golden Gate, KDFC hosts in the studio, co-located at the transmitter site, would make the announcements and the engineers would play the records. In 1950, the owners acquired the 1220 AM frequency in Palo Alto and simulcast the FM programming until the AM was sold off in the 1990s. As technology became more sophisticated, KDFC adopted a streamlined approach to programming. The music would be recorded on large reels with 1 hour of music programming on each and a recorded music host. All the commercials would be recorded onto small reel-to-reel tapes. College students were often hired to run these tapes from the transmitter/studio site, and they could study for classes while the music played. They also had to be careful to check for rattlesnakes when they left the building after their shift.
So my shift from 6 to midnight, I would then idle the transmitter, because we were a daytimer then, finish the logs, turn out the lights, and then you would open the front door at the transmitter shack and take this leap out across the front doormat, because there was a bunch of snakes always curled up there. Because the only warmth on Wolfback Ridge came from the light over our control room door, up on that windy, foggy site. And you'd pull the door behind you, and if you forgot something, you'd just come back tomorrow to when the snakes have left.
When the station moved its studios to Van Ness Avenue in the 1980s, only several blocks from the current station location, it took advantage of another technological advancement, digital audio tapes, or DATs. A wall of tape decks was mounted and preloaded with hours of programming in some machines and commercials in others.
During my time there, we made a couple of interesting improvements. One was 24-hour operation. When I started, KDFC signed off the air from midnight to 6 a.m. And the AM was a daytime-only station. The FM on 24 hours a day, we either had to staff it, which we kind of were unwilling to do at that time and felt it unnecessary because of the automated nature of the station. So I converted the automation system from a proprietary to a PC-based system. And that enabled us to remote control it from the most obvious place was my house.
After a couple of quick ownership changes in the 90s, Bonneville bought KDFC FM in 1997. Bay Area Radio Hall of Famer Chuck Tweedle was in charge, along with Valerie Howard.
We have a vibrant arts community here, always have, and they would support the station. But frankly, we were fishing in deeper waters for the more casual listener. I'm very happy to say that it was not only viable, it was profitable beyond our expectations. And it's all due to a fabulous group of people that work there and still work here.
I was then hired to be the morning show host and soon after the program director. Fellow Hall of Famer Diane Nicolini took over the middays and has been here ever since. The company supported a new vision for a mainstream approach to presenting and programming the music. Current music supervisor Rick Malone handled the afternoons before moving to nights, and soon after, Hall of Famer Hoyt Smith came in to do the afternoons.
The deal was that Bill had sought me out some months before I was actually hired and said, hey, I think you'd be great on the station. I was working across town at a jazz station. He knew me and we'd kind of bumped into each other here and there. And I said, well, you know, I've got my own parking space. They seem to love me. I was fired about 3 months later. And then I called up Bill and said, you know, my dance card happens to be wide open. So he said, come on down, we'll talk about it. You know, Bill's has just made this amazing family here and we all get along really well. I don't ever recall any harsh words or any bad energy, drama. It's just everything, you know, it's just been a great gang of people to work with, and that's really what I miss. I kind of miss working in this palace that they built here on Van Ness Avenue.
KDFC achieved an unprecedented feat for the format. It tied for the top-rated music station in the fall of 1999 and again in 2000, and maintained strong ratings for more than a decade with great music, personalities, and marketing. Hall of Famer John Evans joined a few years later, and by this time the station was doing rock station-inspired on-air promotions like Classical A to Z. The station also created new events like Classical Star Search with celebrity judges, the Star Spangled Sing-Off to vote for who could sing the anthem at Opera at the Ballpark. Classical Kids Discovery Days would welcome thousands of families to a day of music engagement, and we still do this today. In 2011, Entercom decided there was more money in playing classic rock on 102.1, so that January, they flipped the switch with the song Roll Over Beethoven, and KDFC was gone.
I saw that KDFC was vulnerable. The classical format was vulnerable. So I started talking internally at the University of Southern California to save classical music in the Bay Area. You know, one of the things we were concerned about in the beginning is that people in the Bay Area may be a little bit nervous or not entirely happy about having the University of Southern California come in and run the station. However, that was really completely misfounded. We were absolutely welcomed with open arms, and people said to us, "We're just so happy you saved our station."
The core team stayed on to convert KDFC into a listener-supported nonprofit with guidance from our new sister station, KUSC, in LA. And immediately, donations started coming in.
The biggest difference for me was not having to take commercial breaks and to say, we'll be back after these 4-minute-long commercials, 4 minutes of commercials. And so the product, the sound of the station was just nicer, better. The mood that the music created, we could maintain that.
Now KDFC has 25,000 supporting members in Northern California and around the world. It continues to broadcast San Francisco Symphony concerts, along with performances of other local groups. It partners with San Francisco Opera on various activities, including a monthly radio show.
As I think about the role that KDFC plays in this broader ecosystem of the arts in the Bay Area, it is very much that of welcoming people, not just into the radio station, into classical music, but into the whole cultural fabric of the Bay Area.
Coming out of COVID, KDFC created a special new partnership with the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, and the offices and studios are now on the second floor of the Bose Center in the heart of the San Francisco Arts District. The station has the use of the stunning performance spaces in the building and enjoys a budding relationship with conservatory students. In its 75 years, KDFC has won many awards, including the NAB Marconi 3 times, plus the NAB Crystal Award for Community Service. It is the community service that now drives our mission for Northern California. It's about people, the music lovers who share our belief that classical music is for everyone, and that through KDFC, we can help make our world a more harmonious place.